I'm Professor Rad, and today we're going to convert fractions into mixed numbers. So, Theorem 6 is going to give us our rules. So to convert from a fraction into a mixed number, we're going to first divide the numerator by the denominator. And you want to use quotient remainder form for this. You don't want to use decimal form because we're not trying to go to a decimal. We're trying to go to a mixture of a whole number and what's left over in fraction format. Then whatever you get as the quotient, that is the whole number part of the mixed number. And the remainder is the number of pieces that are left over. So that becomes the numerator of the fraction portion, because that's the how many pieces that are shaded in. And then the denominator remains the same, because that's how many pieces made up the shape. As before, if you have a negative mixed number, you're just going to ignore the negative sign when you do the converting and just toss it in at the very end. So we have an example with 3 improper fractions that we're going to go ahead to write as a mixed number. So let's start out with this first one. We've got 21 over 4. So I'm going to set up my division box. So we're going to put the numerator inside the box and the denominator goes outside the box. Now, how many times does 4 go into 21? So 4 goes into 21 5 times. And 5 times 4 is 20. Once I subtract, I get 1 as the remainder. Oh, excuse me there. So the quotient is how many whole blocks of chocolate or whole bars of chocolate we end up with. So this is going to be the big number. The remainder ends up being our numerator, because that's how many pieces of that last bar of chocolate we had left. And each bar of chocolate was cut up into 4 pieces. So we get 5 1/4. Let's draw this one out just to check to make sure that we've got this method down correctly. So I'm going to draw out 21/4. So I'm going to need a couple of candy bars, and I'll draw more if I need them. And each candy bar is cut up into 4 pieces. And we're going to continue to shade in pieces until we get 21 of them. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, we need some more. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, we're getting there. And then 21. So to draw out 21/4, each of my candy bar has 4 pieces in it. And we needed to shade in 21 of those such pieces. When I check it out to compare it to the mixed number format, when 4 went into 21, it went in 5 whole times. And that's corresponding to these 5 whole candy bars. We had a remainder of 1 that corresponds to this 1 extra piece that we needed in order to get to 21. And if we add these all up, we do get 21 out of 4. So one thing you want to be careful about is that a common mistake when we go to write a mixed number from an improper fraction, a common mistake I often see is to write 4 and 5 over 1. And I think this happens because that's how these 3 important numbers are arranged: 4, 5, and 1. But you can see this kind of doesn't make sense in terms of a mixed number, because this is not a proper fraction, which you need, and it doesn't make sense with our picture. So we didn't get 4 plus 5. That would actually be 9 entire chocolate bars, which does not match what our picture shows us. So instead of thinking of the answer as being laid out how these important numbers are, the way that I think about it, it's a very like movement-oriented result. So you start at the top and then you work your way around. So you start at the top with 5, and then this is 1 over 4. So 5 and 1 over 4. That's how I think about that answer. All right, let's go ahead and do another problem, and this time we've got a negative number. But remember, with negative fractions, you ignore the negative until the very end. So I'm going to set up my division like we did before, 73 over 5. So 73, the top number goes in the box, and the 5 goes on the outside. 5 goes into 7 just one time, since 1 times 5 is 5. And when I subtract, I get 2. This time we have an additional digit to bring down, so I'm going to bring down the 3. 5 goes into 23 4 times, because 4 times 5 is 20. When I subtract, I get a remainder of 3. So when I go to write my answer, let's think about it in that motion. We start at the top, that's our big number, and then we go around. So we've got our big number, and then we have 3/5. So 14 and 3/5. Oh, not quite. I shouldn't have boxed that in yet because we had a negative number to start out with. So we have a negative 14 and 3/5. All right, and let's take a look at this last one. So this last one is 8/11. This is a trick question. This one cannot be written as a mixed number. Do you know why? It's a proper fraction. So if you have a proper fraction, it can't be converted into a mixed number. Remember that proper fractions have a smaller numerator than a denominator. So that means we didn't eat an entire candy bar yet. So you just have a fraction, you don't have a mixed number. All right, I'm feeling like I want to do one more example. So I'm going to pull out some scrap paper and let's do one more example together. So let's say we have 39 over 2, 39 halves. Why don't we try this? So we're going to set up division. So the 39 goes inside the box, and the denominator, the 2, goes on the outside. Okay, how many times does 2 go into 3? 2 goes into 3 one time, and 1 times 2 is 2. When we subtract, we get a 1, and then we'll bring down the 9. How many times does 2 go into 19? 2 goes into 19 9 times, since 9 times 2 is 18. And when we subtract, we get a remainder of 1. So to write my answer, we're going to follow that motion. Start out with 19 as the big number. 1 is the numerator. And then the 2 is the denominator. So 39 halves is the same as 19 and a half. Something else you can do to kind of check to make sure that you've got the numbers written in the correct space is your denominator of your improper fraction and your mixed number should be the same. So that was the case when we did these examples before too. We had 21/4 and then we had 5 1/4. So the fourths were the same. Similarly, with our negative 73/5 and our negative 14 3/5, the fifths were the same. All right. Oh, golly, sorry. So here at the end, one day I'll get better at this, right? So at the end, we have our now you try. So we've got 3 different improper fractions that you can try writing out as a mixed number. In the next video on this chapter, we're going to talk about how you can use your calculator to do conversions between fractions and mixed numbers. So I'm looking forward to seeing you then. In the meantime, have a great day.